What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ink Drink Think, Episode 9. Speeding in faster than a speeding bullet, stronger than a locomotive. We're talking Superman today. I am your host, Michael Pickard. And as always, I am joined by my wonderfully talented co-hosts and friends, Johnny Wise. Johnny, you have the stage.
Hey, I'm Johnny. So diving right into this one, I never liked Superman as a kid. I'm only starting to get into him a bit now, a little bit. But as a kid, I liked Batman a lot, and I liked Wolverine, and I thought Superman was just this big dumb nerd why would anyone care about him? Sorry, Nate.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of those dropped in this episode. So
God bless you, Johnny.
We'll Superman episode, this is going to be like maybe my second time drawing him. And I figure Superman is always fun in space, so I'm doing like a big old classic space fight for Superman.
Nice.
And try my best not to ruin everything about this character that I don't know much about.
What are you drinking tonight, Johnny?
Tonight I am drinking a Beck's. For the same reason as always, it was the cheapest thing in the particular shop I was in. And there were 6 of them. 2 of which I dropped on the floor immediately after leaving the shop.
Oh, no.
Horrendous. Yeah, like the crate was like broken in the corner. I hadn't seen it. So I just walked out and just bam, they both went.
Clark Kent was in that.
Clark
Kent was definitely in that grocery store behind you, and he knew you were bad mouthing him, and he saw that opportunity. He was like, I could have just swooped in and saved that guy's beard. He was like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's how little I know about the character. I was just going to do like some kind of mind thing, but you can't do that.
So Superman's over in the corner, grabbing his temples, Professor X style. And of course, we're crushing the hopes and dreams right now of our fellow co-host and friend, Nate Wells. Nate, you are up, buddy. Resident Superman fan.
Hey, guys. Yeah, the guys know I'm a huge Superman fan. That's my guy. It's my favorite anything fictional character, movie, comic. So I'm really excited for this one. I'm going to be drawing Superman coming out of like some kind of machinery. I was imagining it to be kind of like a robot head, like a big robot head. Drew a lot more of the robot head initially than I ended up with, because Superman was about this big and there was like all of this robot face down here, and I was like, well, I want to draw Superman and not a robot, so it just kind of looks like a bunch of machinery, which still works. I kind of ripped it 100% from Darwin Cook. There's a scene in The New Frontier where he fights a robot and comes out of the bottom of its head. I very intentionally stole from him because I love him and I love his take on Superman. But I'm more than excited to get into this one and talk with you guys about Superman and educate Johnny a little bit.
We're about to get in a sparring match with Johnny.
Yeah, tonight I'm drinking a local Buzz from Four Corners Brewing in Dallas out of my Superman Powerful Pickup Lines pint glass. It's been featured on the show before. Let's see what I got today. I can see everything for miles, but there's nothing I'd rather look at than your eyes. That's very sweet. Very, very sweet.
I thought that was about to go X-rated with his X-ray vision, admittedly.
Real dark.
Superman, he's a gentleman. He's a gentleman.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're not going to get me
gentleman. Although I think there is one about X-ray vision on this one. Something about like you've been working out, I can tell because of my X-ray vision. I don't know. We're not going to talk about
that. You're just feeding Johnny with ammunition to bash Superman.
Yeah. Don't like that.
That's awesome.
And of course, joining us last but not least, Teacher Todd himself, Todd Blackwood. Todd, you are up, my friend.
Hey, everybody. I am very excited about this. Nate, I'm afraid you're going to get ganged up on tonight because I'm a huge Superman fan as well. You
mean Johnny? Johnny's the non-Superman believer.
No,
I'm the one who's not a Superman fan.
Yeah, didn't I?
You said Nate.
Right. Oh.
You said Nate. God damn it.
Duh. You're right. Okay, I did get my wires crossed there. Well,
it's a whole Kurt Russell, Crowe incident like last week.
Yeah.
Jane Russell. Star of the thing. I got so excited when I heard that. I was like, what? But yeah, so But I'm doing a Superman. It's been a long time coming, and yeah, just having all kinds of fun with this.
Yes.
Here
Oh, it's awesome.
is my
Mm.
sketch. If you can see that, I know my screen gets kind of bright, but so I've got a sketch
Oh,
of
yeah.
him that I did,
Oh, yeah.
and I got out an old picture of Christopher Reeve, which I seem to have misplaced, but I stole the lighting from it. But luckily, it's already on the drawing. So, and then I've expanded his cape so that it's a lot bigger, and I'm probably going to change the face a bit. I've actually was looking at photos of Chris Pine. I think on the surface he doesn't look like Superman, but I think you can make that leap. He's got a certain quality that I think could be translated. It's too
I
easy to
can see
look at
that.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
you know, and I actually say that as I love that guy. But yeah, this is really fun, man. Yeah, Superman's so fun to draw.
Todd, you
It is.
perfectly
Yes, sir.
you perfectly alley-ooped us for the conversation starter for tonight, bringing up Chris
Did I?
Pine and Henry Cavill. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, which I
Chris
totally
Pine has-
agree. I think Chris Pine would
Pine
make
has
an absolutely
great hair.
killer Superman.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, at least for inspiration. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, he's a well-dressed man. He looks great in a
You can
suit.
say how it is. He's pretty hot.
Oh yeah.
It's a hot dude.
I remember seeing him on early on. I'd never heard of him before, and I realized he was the son of the police chief from Chips.
Ah,
And then I
Yeah,
saw
I heard
him
that.
on,
Yeah.
I saw him on like the Oscars in a tux with his hair slicked back, and I thought, man, that is how you wear a tux.
Yeah.
So I've paid more attention to how he dresses than maybe other actors. He's got some real style. He's one of those lucky dudes that just can't be not good looking. And
Yeah.
Superman's kind of got that going on too. Anyways, obviously I've got lots to say. So
yeah, we'll absolutely get into that in a minute because I got some thoughts on Henry Cavill.
yeah,
But anyways, guys,
Yeah.
just real quick, I'm Michael Pickard, as I touched upon. Tonight, I don't actually typically cover this, I realized in editing these videos, but I'm enjoying Trogs Perpetual IPA, brewed here in Pennsylvania. Sponsor the show, please. And of course, I'm also drawing Superman, like the fellas here. My
Yeah.
piece is Superman holding up a tractor from
Yeah.
plowing down a mother cow and her calf.
Nice.
So kind of the antithesis of what Nate was talking about, where he was saying the robot took up too much of the frame. I've got a big old tractor that's kind of coming to the foreground. So it should be fun to draw. I got my
Yeah.
thumbnail here, which I think turned out fairly well in terms of its
Yeah.
lighting and shading values. So I'm going to be referencing this pretty heavily, even though it's about the length of my thumb. But hopefully it'll go well. I'm excited to get into it because, of course, Superman is a character we all love. And as we touched upon, Todd already brought up the topic a little bit, and I want to go a little bit deeper into it. But
Yeah.
to you three, I ask, who is your favorite live-action Superman? And before I get your responses, because we started talking about him a little bit, my biggest complaint with Henry Cavill, and it's not about how charming he is, because I think if given the right source material, he would be an excellent Superman. There's no way that that man is Clark Kent. Even when he's got the glasses on and he's got his flannel shirt on, there's no way that any person at the Daily Planet would look at that guy and just be like, wow, that is a man. No matter how
Yeah,
bumbling
well-
he is, you'd look at that guy and go, if anybody was Superman, it would probably be him. You know?
Yeah. That's one of those things that just doesn't work anymore for the character.
Well, how
but-
handsome do you think Superman should be?
He should be handsome. Not handsome, not hot, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I always thought, again, knowing nothing about the character, I always thought he's supposed to be like as attractive as like Bruce Wayne, but in like more of a wholesome kind of, less of a
Yeah.
bad boy kind of way.
See, I brought it up in our
I
group
think
chat
he's
last
like
night.
he's like a good old boy, you know? He's like got some charm, but he's definitely traditionally good looking, but he's not always gonna turn someone's head, you know?
Yeah, I brought it up in our group
Well-
chat when I was drawing my pencils here that actually the character who mentally I was reflecting upon was Kristoff from Frozen as a point of reference because he's a charming, slightly thicker farm type boy, but he gets the girl in the end, you know. But he's not particularly like he's no Chris Pine or Henry Cavill, but I think either of those two would kill Superman though, if given the right material.
You mean as actors?
Yes, they would not kill the character.
No,
They would.
no, those
You threw me
Hollywood
for a
actors
second.
would
I was
murder
like,
Superman.
Yeah, Chris Pine would beat Superman in a fight. Change my mind.
He is Captain Kirk.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the problem is I do have so I'm going to say that my favorite actor for Superman is obviously going to be Christopher Reeve. And I think one of the things that's missing from every portrayal I've seen since him is that I love how his Clark Kent is so nerdy and so doesn't fit in and is an outcast, and then he makes this transformation every time he puts on the Superman outfit and goes and becomes a different person entirely. So for me, when he's Clark Kent, I don't think I don't know how you hide those looks, but he shouldn't be good looking he should be very, very awkward and wants to fit in, but doesn't. And I feel like that's a character trait that's kind of missing from the newer versions of Superman that I've seen. If that makes sense.
No, that's a great point, especially when you cast him too attractive. It is that matter of like, how much of an outsider is he? Like, what makes him the outsider in that regard then? If he's not fumbling around Peter Parker style, you know?
Yeah.
If he's completely just an Adonis like Henry Cavill, what makes him Clark Kent as opposed to the Superman persona?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that everyone always talks about, like how difficult it is to like cast and play like Batman because you've got to play like Batman as well as Bruce Wayne. I think comparatively that's a lot easier than like, because you have to get like, say, Henry Cavill, who's great as Superman, but then you can't like make him less attractive. What do you do when he becomes Clark Kent? You can't like, I think comparatively it could be a much more difficult role to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a silly trope to think that this new guy comes to town, starts working at the Daily Planet, and nobody happens to recognize that he looks exactly like this other guy that just showed up that's flying around saving people.
Yeah,
it just
definitely
doesn't work. I feel like I have no idea. Maybe I'm out of touch, and maybe they've handled that in a way that's really good. But to me, like I think I was thinking about it, and I was like, they'd have to be like in on the joke, like everybody already knows he's Superman and they play along and he just thinks he's fooling everybody, but they're like, oh yeah, it's obvious, we know who he is, but we're not going to tell him, or his secret identity gets leaked really fast. And I feel like it's something they'd have to handle correctly.
Well, that's I think the thing about like especially going live action is that the secret identity thing is and the glasses is a more cartoony element of the character.
Yeah.
And in like a cartoon or in a comic book, you can just kind of go like, oh, well, okay. Yeah. Like I get it. Whereas like live action where it's supposed to be like, these are real people that behave like actual human beings, you know?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem at all with like the public not recognizing, you know, like if Superman or if Clark Kent's just like getting coffee, I have no problem with somebody at Starbucks not recognizing that he's Superman. The only thing, because I think out of context, you would never know that he was Superman. But like when it gets into like Lois and Jimmy, you know, like they know Superman and they know Clark, so like they're gonna realize that that's their friend not wearing glasses.
Yeah. Especially when she's supposed to be the super smart reporter that is probably noticing lots of things that other people don't.
And she's like in love with him.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that later when I bash Lois Lane. But hashtag Lana Lang Club.
I like Lois Lane.
What do you guys think of Brandon Routh Superman? He's somebody who I feel is forgotten a lot of times, but I don't think that he was a terrible
Yeah.
take or a terrible actor for the role. But
I think
he
he's
was
really
hindered.
looks
good.
good.
I think he's really good in that role. I think he's probably too young in Superman Returns. I love Superman Returns. But he was like
Yeah.
24 when they filmed that movie. And he's supposed to be the Christopher Reeve Superman after
Yeah.
like Superman 2. I was excited when he came back and got to play Superman in the CW shows, because
Totally.
now he's in his mid 30s and he looks, feels, and sounds like Superman. So I just want more and more and more of that.
Yeah, that was
We'll
something.
probably never get it, but
Yeah, with the
Huh.
choice and everything, I think he was hindered by every factor of that movie. His age during
Yeah.
filming, the fact that he was he hold it to the Reeves version, so he had to be Christopher Reeves, not his own take on Superman. Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he as an actor deserves that second chance, and he did get it with the CW shows. But yeah, I thought he was a
Right.
pretty good Superman, all things considered.
I thought he was great.
Yeah. That was a well-intentioned movie. I need to watch it again.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
seen it.
I really like
It's like-
that movie.
Do you? That's cool. That's a good to know.
Well, you
'Cause
know, it came out when I was 11.
Oh.
And so like I grew up on the Christopher Reeve movies, and that was like, and you know, I watched like Lois and Clark every morning at like 8:00. They did like reruns on TNT. And so I
Wow.
watched it like every morning before I went to school. I was late
Yeah.
to school all the time because I was watching Dean Cain as Superman.
Yeah.
Isn't that how we all grew up, though?
But like the first like real live action Superman like that was from like that like I could really really take ownership of was Superman Returns. First like big screen
Yeah.
Superman that came out that was like new. And so I mean I saw it I don't know how many times in the theaters. I'd like made my parents take me so many
Wow.
times that summer.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it definitely has a special place in my heart. And I understand that it's not everyone's cup of tea. I don't agree with, well, maybe I agree with it. People say it's like the boring Superman movie, and I guess it is. But I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing because it's a very character-driven superhero
Yeah.
movie.
Totally.
And I think that there needs to be more of that. I don't mind boring if the story's good, and I think the story's great.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey is my favorite on-screen Lex Luthor. I know that that's probably bad to say now, but
Wow.
we didn't know then. I love Kevin Spacey.
He's a great. He was or whatever was a great actor. I mean, he's been in he's LA Confidential. He made a lot of sense that they chose him as Lex Luthor. So
I thought he did the Gene Hackman Lex Luthor kind of like funny thing, but he was actually scary. Gene Hackman was never scary.
yeah.
But Kevin Spacey, and I mean, I was like 11 when I saw that movie, so I hadn't seen like Seven or anything, or like Usual Suspects or anything where he's like an actual.
Oh. Yeah.
Dude, that was like probably the first Kevin Spacey movie I'd ever seen was Superman Returns, and he
Wow.
scared the shit out of me. I was actually like, "Oh, Lois is in danger" when she's like on the boat with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just I never got that from Gene Hackman. I love Gene Hackman as Lex because it's just so much fun. But
Of course. Yeah. Have you seen the deleted scenes from Superman, the original?
I've seen some, probably.
Because there's one that kind of shocked me where they had something in like a pit that sounded like a tiger, but it sounded more like a monster than that. And I think the original ending of the movie, Gene Hackman was lowering Miss Tessmacher into the pit, and Superman
Oh my
comes and
God.
saves her. And it was
Yeah, I have not
it was
seen
like
that.
quite a bit more brutal and scary than I remember, and that's probably why they trimmed it. But I remember thinking, wow, I would kind of have a different take on some of this stuff if they kept that in. There's some great stuff like that scene they cut out. I still can't believe they cut it out where Lex Luthor tests Superman with all
Yeah.
the heat and the cold.
Great scene.
That's
Yeah.
so cool. Can't believe they took that out.
Yeah, that would be one of the cooler like action beats of that movie, I think.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, they cut it for some reason.
Yeah, I never understood it.
So it kind of parlays into the live action Superman question a little bit. When you think about their costumes, each Superman has a very drastically different costume. And in regards to the one element that is changed throughout all of them, it's the S. For you guys,
Right.
would you say you prefer Superman with a small S, similar to Brandon Routh, a medium-sized S, like Henry Cavill, or a huge, large S on the chest, similar to Christopher Reeve? What do you prefer for that character design?
I'm struggling with that right now, actually, but I'm gonna go with bigger.
I went
Although
bigger as well.
Yeah, I
made
think
mine-
medium to big.
Yeah, I put mine
actually-
right onto his belt initially, and then I was like, okay, that's a little too big.
Yeah, like Alex Ross does, like it's his whole shirt is
Yeah.
like the shield.
Exactly.
I again, not knowing loads about the character, I actually am regretting my choice at the moment for, regardless of really the size. I'm regretting my choice of going for his like normal one, because I kind of told myself a little while ago that I was like, I think my favorite Superman logo is the like classic, really old like shield one. I was like, I want to draw that on him. Maybe I should just make it that's the only one I draw on him. And I just completely forgot that when I was doing this. So
There's
I think I
still
might
time.
have to go back and put that on him. Yeah, because that's
Yeah, I love
that's-
some of
that's
those
cool,
early
I think.
ones.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, it's
actually
like a
my
weird
first
shape.
my first reaction to when they revealed back in like 2012 or 2011, whenever they revealed the Man of Steel suit. My first reaction to the logo was that it had kind of a classic feel to it.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, I have a question regarding Superman that I had pre-prepared because I was thinking about it last night. Going back to the casting, since you guys remember in Batman and Robin, it has that "This is why Superman works alone" line.
Who could forget it?
Of course.
Yeah, classic. Who would you cast for a '90s Superman movie?
Is Nicolas
90s?
Cage excluded?
'90s. No, I was gonna say that. I was gonna say you can go with what they were going to go for if you want.
That's a tough question.
Yeah, I was thinking about my choice to help you guys out. Maybe would have been Brad Pitt. I think
Oh,
Brad Pitt would be good. What do you think? But again, I'm not very good with Superman stuff, so you guys might hate that choice.
If we're strictly
But for the
talking,
'90s,
are we talking like this is in continuity with Batman and Robin? So we're talking like circa 1997, right?
yeah, I was gonna say I have this kind of weird obsession with, because that was like the first movie I saw. I have this really weird obsession with like, what if you could make that movie good, or like continuing those movies like timeline, but in comics. Like I really want that to be a project someone starts up. I don't know. I have this interest in those movies where I'm like, what if they just carried on doing them? What if it did really well, and there were just more and more?
What are you talking about? The Batman movies? You mean the Batman movies, right?
Yeah, but equally in that vein, I'm like, if it had done really well, going off of that Superman line, they might have done a '90s Superman movie. Who knows?
Yeah.
I got a
Just
Superman
weird
for you.
fascination with it.
Dennis
Yep.
Quaid as Superman, circa The Parent Trap.
Ooh.
Wow.
Don't hate it. Don't hate it.
He's charming.
Yeah,
He's
it's
got
the
that
seal of
country
approval,
feel,
then.
right? Yeah, it's got Nate's seal of approval, so we're good on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dennis Quaid could have been a good Superman. If you
I was
made that
thinking,
movie like campy and fun, I think Dennis Quaid would have nailed it. I think you would have had a lot of fun, like saying the stupid lines and knowing that it was a joke.
Yeah, because that movie would have been just terrible.
It would have been something.
Interesting. I'd have to. think I'd have to Google Dennis Quaid, but I think it's all depends on whether if the movie was good, then it would probably like I'm opposed to a blonde Superman, but I was also opposed to a blonde James Bond, and then Daniel Craig immediately won me over by how he played the character. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think for Superman it's different. They would have to dye the hair, wouldn't they?
I would assume so.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they dyed even Christopher Reeves.
I don't know. I
yeah,
could see a blonde Superman. I
Right.
know that Paul Walker auditioned for Superman for the unproduced J.J. Abrams version. So I could have
Really?
seen that. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Nah, I don't like it.
You know,
That does not have Nate's seal of approval.
No, it does not.
I don't even. I'm not a Superman guy, and I don't like it. That's just wrong.
Why you guys don't like Paul Walker or?
No,
Oh,
Paul
no,
Walker's
the
fine.
blonde.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Just
the blonde. Yeah.
The visuals
the
of that are
blonde thing.
wrong.
I also, I probably, he might have done a great job. Who knows? I would not. I don't know. I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but he wouldn't certainly be my first
Sure.
choice for Superman.
Yeah.
I'm super ready for, and I know that like the Thing has been cast sort of, and it's like tradition to cast an unknown relatively to play Superman live action. I'm kind of interested to see what an established actor could do with the role. Because I know the thing that like Dick Donner was worried about was like, you know, I don't want you to see Robert Redford on screen. I
Yeah.
want you to see Superman. And I agree with that. And luckily he thought that way because we got Christopher Reeve.
Right.
But I'm just curious to see, and I don't know anybody offhand who would be a good choice, but it seems like Batman's always like a really established great actor.
Yeah.
And you're never like, oh, well, that's Christian Bale. Like, I take him seriously, but that's Christian Bale because he just demands that you take him seriously.
Yeah, that's a good point,
Yeah,
actually. I've
that's
not
true.
thought about that.
Yeah, I just wonder what, you know, I don't even know. Like 15, 20 years, if like there's a Timothy Chalamet led Superman movie, what that's going to be like if he puts on like 100 pounds.
Featherweight
Timothy
Superman.
Chalamet is. Yeah.
Although
gosh,
Superman doesn't have to be like big, but Timothy Chalamet is like really skinny and also like
Yeah.
22, so it's fine. But
Don't do
I think
don't do
Brand-
Timotei like he did Brandon Ralph. Let him age.
right, because I think it's really important that Superman carries some weight on screen, not like literally and figuratively. Like he sort of like needs to have a, I think, commanding presence that's gentle. The way Christopher Reeve just is Superman. He's on screen and you're just like, oh, holy shit, like that's the guy. You know, and George Reeves does the same in that TV show in kind of a different way. He shows up on screen and he's like your dad. And you're like, oh, well, dad's here. You know?
Yeah, definitely. Everything's going to be better, you know?
Yeah, like
There's
the
reassuring quality to him. It makes sense that children are
Exactly.
attracted to Superman. You know, Superman's reassuring, Batman's kind of not. So I could see kids being drawn to one or the other character, but not necessarily both of them.
Yeah, he's not even really, I guess, a character that, you know, people always say they can't relate to him, and it's like maybe that's not even the point. I think he should be human enough that you can relate to him, but like I think the fantasy with Superman is not like I can kind of see myself in Spider-Man's shoes. It's like I can see myself in like Jimmy Olsen's shoes or Lois's shoes, and I want someone that can save me from the Thing that's gonna hurt me, you know?
Yeah. I think that's the difference between Marvel and DC characters. I think maybe I've mentioned this before. I think you're supposed to directly relate to Marvel characters, and that's why they have these really big flaws. Whereas DC characters, it's like you're supposed to look up to them, and that's why characters like Robin and Jimmy Olsen and others, you know, that all the DC characters had these sidekicks. Not all of them lasted, but like with Marvel, they tried Rick Jones, and none of it ever really stuck, you know.
Yeah, I think
don't
that's a
know.
good point. Yeah.
That's interesting though. I think that is a difference between like people who liked Batman and people who liked Superman. I think you've got a point there because I would have. I probably looked up to the idea of Batman, but I also strongly was like, I want to be him. Like what you were talking about with Marvel. I definitely wanted to be Batman and not just like, I wasn't reading it like, imagine if this was real. I don't know. It was definitely the Marvel thing that you were talking about where I was like just always going out and pretending I was Batman and wishing I was Batman. Like a little nerd.
Really dressed so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. That was the big thing.
He had the best outfits.
Best toys.
That leads into one
The
of my
best toys.
questions, actually. One of my questions is a bit of a stupid one. But I, as a kid, looking back, I think I've pinpointed part of my issue with Superman was that I just didn't, as a kid especially, I was like, well, Batman has a cool mask. Wolverine has a cool mask. Superman just doesn't. He has his costume that's like real bright and not very, to me at the time, cool looking. And I was like, he doesn't even have a mask. How is he a superhero?
Yeah.
So one of my goofier questions is, if you had to give Superman some kind of headgear, what would you go for? Would you go like minimalist, keep it as close to normal as possible, like a domino mask or something? Or would you go like all out and have fun with it? What would you do?
Ooh, I know exactly what I would do because they've probably done it somewhere in the 90s. You know, like and like when John Byrne reintroduced Superman in the mid 80s with like Man of Steel, he redesigned all of the sort of Kryptonian garb, and they all had like the Gambit style, like
that's right,
headwear.
Oh yeah,
I would just give him one of those. That you can still see his face, so he's still like Superman. But I think that would look really cool if he had like just his suit came up like the blue and kind of went around his face like that.
Yeah, that would
still
be
got his hair flowing and stuff. Like I said, there's no way that hasn't been done somewhere for some suit. I actually might have like some toy from the 90s that has that. So it's definitely been done.
I think I probably do as well.
Yeah.
I'd probably go long hair, if anything. Like a mullet, perhaps.
Oh yeah, the mullet. The classic mullet.
No, in all honesty, I think it almost betrays Superman to give him anything on his face.
That was what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, for example, in the New 52, there was an event called Future's End, where it like took a look at like a dystopian 5-year timeline, and in that future, Superman is dead, and Billy Batson becomes the world's new Superman.
Oh wow!
But he hides his identity behind a mask, like a visor kind of thing, like almost like a entire face, like almost like a Mandalorian kind of looking thing, where the whole face is covered in like a reflective glass look. But I think narratively that works because they were like, who's the new Superman? Like it was part of his gimmick.
Yeah.
But I think if you're talking straight up Superman, Clark Kent, or even his son, John Kent, it's a betrayal to who he is and his honesty for him to cover his face.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's kind of why Nate's idea works best, I think. Because you don't cover his face. It's just like part of his costume. Because I was thinking, like, if I had to, I was going to go... Because just to be clear, I no longer feel like that is what Superman needs as a character. But as a kid, that was my big gripe. Yeah, I think if I had to, I would go like domino mask. But yeah, I think Nate is right. If you were going to, you just go like Gambit sock on the head thing.
Yeah,
so not really.
Well, because that's the cool thing about Superman is like he disguises himself when he's being his like his human, his real self. And leaves like his face to his like superhero, his public persona. And you know, you could argue probably all day about like is it Clark who's the real guy? Is it Superman? You know,
yeah.
And I think
or is it? Yeah.
I think both are valid. I think like the Christopher Reeve Clark is an act,
Yeah.
but
Must
and
be.
in those movies, I think Superman is the real guy. But and I think Max Landis might have touched on this too. Where like when he's Superman, he's kind of like being a hero, and he's kind of playing a hero, and he's
Mhm.
putting on kind of a public persona.
Hmm.
And the real guy is Clark, not bumbling reporter Clark Kent, but like,
Right.
you know, farm boy Clark Kent. The truth is somewhere in the middle of those things, you know. Whereas I think, you know, like with Batman, he's Batman. Bruce is a weird shell
Right.
of a guy, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. When his parents got shot, he became Batman essentially.
Mm.
Right.
Bruce Wayne probably disappeared. Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, and I don't even really know which I prefer. Because I want Superman to be the real guy, but I don't know. I think my ideal Superman, he is just genuine, and he is also being himself and not faking it when he's Clark. He's just portraying a different side of himself, maybe.
Yeah, I was actually going to chime in a minute.
I think it's weird if he just lies all the time too.
Yeah, that's not very
About
Superman.
what? Being Superman?
Yeah, if like everyone he knows in his personal life doesn't actually know anything about him, and he just acts like this buffoon the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's kind of weird. I love it in the movies, but I think as a concept, it's kind of weird. You know, like if you watch the George Reeves show,
Mhm.
you know, I don't know how anyone in that show doesn't figure out that they're the same person, because like
Right.
George Reeves as Clark is just as aggressive, or as maybe not aggressive, but like as assertive and confident
Yeah.
as Superman
Yeah.
is. He's very
Yeah.
like he stands up to everyone, and he's still all
Yeah.
about truth, justice, and the American way. He just wears glasses.
More of a
Right.
John Wayne.
Yeah, he's a very manly guy.
Mhm.
And it's weird because in that show, Lois will always call him like a coward and stuff, and I'm like, but he's not. It's like, so you know, the writers of that show know that that's a thing,
Yeah.
but they don't do it in the show at all.
Where did you go? Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, oh, Clark, you're never around. It's just like
Yeah.
you to run off when the action starts. It's like, well,
Yeah.
it's absolutely not just like him.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I love that show, but I mean, it's just fun. The writing is not serious at all. It's a great show,
Right.
though.
Yeah, with Superman, I think it's different when you put him in context with other superheroes like Batman, for example, who you're like, oh, Batman is the real person. Or even Spider-Man, who I would argue is the opposite. Peter Parker is the real person. Spider-Man's a persona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Clark, I think it's a matter of, to quote the old taco commercial, "Por qué no los dos?" I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's both. Clark Kent is this awkward guy who struggles to conform to some degree and make friends, but I also think he is Superman. But if he were to be himself in his truest form in terms of being as strong as he is in his personal life, I think he would never have the secret identity aspect, and he needs
Right.
that. So I think by default, both Clark Kent and Superman are who his true identity are. It's just a matter of what social context he's in.
Right. That makes sense.
Like you're a different person when you're out with your buddies drinking than you are with your grandma. And that's how I kind of think about Superman. You know, they're just two.
So when he's Superman, he's out drinking.
Yeah, to some extent. When he's out drinking, he's this confident. You know,
Clark is sober. Superman is drunk.
that
No,
is one take on the
I just thought
character,
that
I
was
guess.
fun. I like that analogy. I'd never thought about that before, but that's really funny.
I'm sure somebody has that sitting in a drawer somewhere. That pitch.
Yeah. Well, I always thought it was cool when they showed Spider-Man's mask come off and he was fighting as Peter Parker. I thought that was kind of exciting, and yet you don't see it doesn't work with almost any other superhero. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
there's not a version of that. Clark Kent's never lifting a robot over his head, or I'm trying to think of a comparison, but I think you guys know what I mean. Spider-Man probably prefers to be Spider-Man instead of Peter Parker, is part of what he
Yeah,
does.
I think that's a good point.
And I'm not sure who Superman prefers to be. He might prefer being Superman.
I would think so. I
You don't think so?
No, I would think so. I think that's
You would
most.
think so?
Yeah, I think that's most writers' interpretation anyway. Like All-Star
Yeah.
Superman. That is a version of the character who is very much Superman. He is Superman. He's not necessarily fumbling Clark Kent, but Superman is this pure form of who he wishes he could express himself as.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, yeah, I want to say Clark. I don't know if I really believe that, but I want to say Clark. There's that great Alan Moore book, For the Man Who Has Everything.
I love that, yeah.
They adapted on the Justice League cartoon, I think, really well. Great story, great comic. Dave Gibbons did the art, and it's just wonderful. But when I was younger, I always had a problem that like his fantasy was being on Krypton.
Right.
Like with a family on Krypton, and I was like, that's not what he would want. He would want to be, I think he would want to just have a family with Lois on Earth.
Genetics permitting.
Yeah, I always just took huge issue with that. But the older I get and the more I think about it, because I think about it probably way too often. I think sort of my takeaway and my version of that story is that him being on Krypton is sort of an illustration of him wanting to just be normal. Because he's not Superman on Krypton, but he's like, I am an alien, and so I want to, not even like I want to be like back home, because he doesn't know Krypton. He doesn't know anything about Krypton. But he wants to be in a place where he feels normal and he can just be a normal guy. And if I had written that story, I would have done it just on Earth with him being Clark. And it's really weird because I'm not a writer to be like, yeah, I would have done it completely different from Alan Moore. But I do kind of like, I like that story a lot more now that I've sort of realized that may have been the point of it, rather than like he wants to be back on. Because when I was younger, I was like, he doesn't want to be on Krypton. Why would he want to be on Krypton? Because it's so disrespectful, I thought, to the Kents and to Lois and Jimmy and the real relationships he has.
My take on that is that the thing gives you what you think you want, but it's not actually or it's not actually what you want. And that's what he slowly figures out. Is he's like, I think this is what I want, but it's not. And that's the struggle he has to figure out, where he's like, something's wrong here. I'm supposed to be Superman. It was a tragedy that these things happen, but they happen for a reason.
And there's that heartbreaking scene in that story where he has to tell his son, who in the fantasy has lived with for 10 years or whatever, that I don't think you're real, and you like essentially have to die for me to go back home and do what I'm supposed to do. And it's so brutal. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. Well, have you guys read that story?
No, I've not read the actual comic, but the Justice League episode is one of my favorites of that show.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, kind of parlaying into the whole conversation about true identities, who they really are. I think that story is emblematic of why Superman and Batman are best friends, in my mind. Because when they're together, they're not Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne. They're the true selves, to some degree. Like, Clark is the most true expression of his inner moralities as he can be when he's around Batman. And Batman is just Batman. He's not having to put on the facade of Bruce Wayne.
That's interesting.
Even though they're very diametrically opposed, I think that's a good explanation for why they would click as people, because they're like, in their
Oh,
truest
yeah.
expressions of what they feel inside.
Yeah.
That's really good, I think. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think well, Mike knows that I wrote a little bit of a treatment, just a brief little note of how I would do the Justice League in like a comic, and
Hmm.
I specifically wrote in there that, like in the cartoon, Batman and Superman should be like quietly best buddies, for sure.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
that's the most fun. I don't think they should be always like hating each other. They should be
Yeah.
like in the cartoon where they were just like Batman always kind of pretended he didn't care, but there was these little moments where like he'd think
Oh,
Superman was dead or whatever, and then he
that's
finds out he's
brilliant.
alive, and he's just like, oh, you just see the
Mhm.
love
Yeah.
in his face. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And Superman will rib him about it very gently, but he's like, "Oh, your feelings are showing."
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Batman's
I
like,
think-
"Shut up."
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love them being best friends. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It needs to. I mean, I think they tried to do it a bit in Justice League, but obviously it was like the Joss Whedon like rewrite stuff where it was just like goofy and didn't really work. You
Oh,
just need to have it be genuine.
Yeah, I think the problem with that movie had nothing to do with. Oh, actually, I will say this. I think it had to do with the fact, and what we're touching upon with Batman v Superman, that one movie ago they were at each other's throats. Like, I don't think you
Yeah.
can directly go from Dark Knight Returns to Superman, old chum, let's go fight the Joker again. You know, like,
And it doesn't.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
why they should never have. Oh man, yeah, they should never have had them hate each other really from the beginning. Like Batman should be really suspicious
Yeah.
of Superman, but you can't you can't go from Dark Knight Returns, where obviously in the
Yeah.
comic they have been like friends for so long, and that's why it has meaning, and then suddenly go back to like when you've never seen it in a movie before, go back to like them being friends. You
Mhm.
can't do
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nightmare version of the end of their relationship.
Yeah, it's the end
Exactly.
of it's the conclusion to what was a differential in philosophy. Whereas
Yeah.
with Batman v
Yeah.
Superman, it's like you guys could just have a conversation and work this out, as opposed to being people who have known each
Right.
other for decades at that point.
Right.
Yeah. Do any of you guys listen to The Weekly Planet?
Yep.
Yeah,
What's that?
It's a really good podcast. It's like a really good podcast. It's these two Australian guys, and
Oh.
they talk comics. It's really,
Wow.
really good. And
I've never heard of it.
they have this ongoing thing in it with movies where like they call it something about like a post-it note, like it's like plot where there's like a conflict between two characters that could be solved by just handing someone a
Mhm.
post-it note with a little bit of information, and it's just like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
okay, fair enough. Like the whole
Yeah.
fight in that movie is just
Yeah.
you could have solved it with a little bit of information on either part and a
Yeah.
little bit of talking, and it would have been
Yeah,
fine.
That's like the Flintstones as a kid. Every episode started with Fred lying to Wilma, and then at the end he's like, "I should have just not lied at the beginning." And then every day I'd be like, "Dude, you're lying again. Are you not gonna learn?"
Didn't you learn?
Oh, I've seen this before. This guy's an idiot.
Or
Yeah,
were
I
you
hate-
the idiot for watching it again, Todd?
What's that? Well, there's nothing else on. I had to watch it. It was between Looney Tunes and Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
This is my placeholder. But yeah, like it's funny that Superman versus Batman came out the same year as Civil War, because the conflict between Iron Man and Captain America, which was something I never paid attention to in the comics, was actually so well done in the film. It was a real, actual disagreement with two sides to it, and both were right and both were wrong. I mean, Captain America was right and Tony Stark was wrong, of course, but you understood Iron Man's
Both sides, yeah.
Yeah.
You get it from his
and-
perspective. You're like, oh, I can see
Yeah.
if I was you.
Yeah, it's like they did a literal disagreement between two guys who really do care about each other, and yet the fact that they couldn't get it right in the DC movies was kind of astonishing.
Yeah, I think that was just a matter of who was creatively behind the projects and what was
Well,
culturally
yeah.
going on. Like, I think at the time, like
Yeah.
DC having success with the Injustice
Right.
video games and trying to be counterculture to the Marvel movies, so they weren't directly aping off of the same market
Yeah.
directly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not overconfident.
definitely. Yeah. Because I think that's a great point of being overconfident because I don't think you can undersell what the Marvel movies accomplished.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's shown in all of the other attempts to make a connected universe. Like it's not as easy as Marvel made it look, people.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you
Yeah.
got to put in the work, and no other studio has actually put in the years of work
Yeah.
to make several good movies before you put characters together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Right.
got to be earned.
Yeah. Exactly.
You've got to care about everyone involved on screen for it to
Right.
work
Yeah.
in that sense. Now, I think you can make a, if they had treated like Batman v Superman, not like a Batman and a Superman movie, but as a movie that didn't need to be part of a bigger thing, just treat them
Right.
like they
Yeah.
are two characters in this movie. Because obviously
Mhm.
characters have multiple movies, or movies have multiple characters.
Right.
Write the movie first before you make the
Yeah.
universe.
Mm.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
you can make a movie called Batman v Superman and
course.
rely on the fact that we all know who these characters are, and I think it could work.
Yeah.
But it's like, they just got ahead of themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I also think they could have done, and they almost tried to do it. They could have done. Have you guys read the New 52 Justice League, the beginning of it?
Yeah.
Huh.
Where like there's the first meeting between Batman and Superman, and it's kind of similar where he's like, Batman is just suspicious of him,
Mhm.
and then they like fight, and it's really cool because Batman is like throwing all of this, everything he has at him, like on his person at the time,
Yeah.
and Superman's
It's all
like,
just bouncing
there's like-
off.
yeah, and there's like the cool bit where Superman's just like, your belt's empty, because Batman just doesn't have anything left. They could have just done that. Like they probably shouldn't have called that Batman v Superman if they were going to do that. But they could have just
Yeah.
had like a fight between them where like Batman is initially suspicious. There's not this really big like rift between them. He's just
Yeah.
immediately like, shit, he could be a threat. I need to have something prepared. And it just doesn't fucking work at all.
Have you guys ever read
Yeah.
the script for the unproduced Batman v Superman movie from the early 2000s?
No.
No.
So it kind of, I would not say it's the greatest script of all time or anything, but I would say there's an interesting take on why those two characters are fighting, and it's that at the beginning of the movie, Bruce Wayne is retiring and getting married, while Clark Kent is in the middle of a divorce from Lois Lane. And so, on top of these interpersonal issues that they're having in their own separate personal lives, there's the threat that's dividing the two. So it's kind of like we've talked about with Dark Knight Returns being the apocalyptic ending to a friendship. Similarly, this movie establishes that same take where it's these two are colleagues. They've known each other for decades. Clark Kent is at Bruce Wayne's wedding, as opposed to, hey, like, you operate in a city that's literally a bridge away from mine. And I don't like how you handle things.
Interesting. Who was going to play? Was it going to be a continuation of the Michael Keaton type Batman series, or?
No, it was actually going to be. So this was post Batman this was post Superman Returns and post Batman Begins,
Oh,
but pre The Dark Knight. But so
wow.
even at the same time, they were intending that there was going to be a Justice League movie with Armie Hammer as Batman. So from everything I understand, I don't think it was going to be Brandon Routh and Christian Bale, who were the Batman and Superman of that time. I think they were going to cast separately or independently from those franchises. But
it's like Josh Hartnett and Colin Farrell or something.
yeah, Josh Hartnett was definitely in the role, or one of the roles. Jude Law was probably one of them.
Yeah, they considered Jude Law, I think, for that J.J. Abrams Superman,
Yeah.
Wow.
which I think Josh Hartnett would make an amazing Superman. I love that guy.
Or Batman. I could see either.
Yeah.
Or Batman, yeah.
He was one of Christian Bale's first picks for Batman, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You mean Christopher Nolan or Christian Bale?
Oh my gosh, Christopher Nolan. I've done it twice
Okay.
now, everybody. Kurt Russell, Russell Crowe. I swear to God, I'm a movie fan. I'm a big movie
No,
fan.
I was like, oh, did he pick his successor? That would be interesting.
Pick my brain
Kerry
about movies when I'm
Russell.
not drinking.
No.
Kerry
What makes
Washington.
it fun? Interesting.
All right, so here's a Superman question for you guys. For me, in my mind, Darkseid is a Superman villain. And that's
Sure.
because I was introduced to the character through Superman the Animated Series and Justice League. So for my entire life, I assumed Darkseid was a Superman baddie from the comics. Only later was it that I realized, no, he's a New Gods character, totally separate, but somewhat connected because of like Superman being in the Forever People comic, I believe. But to you guys, are the New Gods essentially ancillary Superman characters? Like in your mind, do you directly correlate the New Gods with Superman?
I do.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was introduced to those characters on the animated series, and some of my favorite stories from the early-ish John Byrne and Jerry Ordway Superman comics were the Darkseid stories, which I think that they loosely adapted on the animated series,
right?
Where Superman goes to Apokolips and ends up getting brainwashed and all that stuff. Yeah, I love Darkseid being a Superman villain. I think that I love the way that their relationship sort of plays out in Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seems like the only guy that Superman really kind of hates is Darkseid.
Yeah. Well, which is good because he can match him, and I think that's what makes him important as a Darkseid villain. You know, you're gonna probably never see Lex Luthor and Superman actually duke it out.
And I don't think you should either. I don't like.
Probably not.
I don't like the power suit. I don't think Lex fights Superman. I think that's
got its moments, but I know what you mean.
But yeah, Darkseid is someone who's just as cunning as Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
But he's also a god, and
evil.
he's just an evil person.
Bad person, yeah. And those fights are spectacular when they go at it. Superman is just like, all right, it's on.
Yeah, that's a scene I've watched multiple times on YouTube where Superman has that speech about like walking amongst like cardboard or whatever.
Totally.
It's a great scene.
Well, there's an earlier scene where he shoots his lasers or his laser eyes through Darkseid's got his foot on his face, and then you see these two glowing dots in his feet, and you realize he's shooting his beams through his foot. And you're like, wow.
Oh, that's cool as fuck. I need to read more of this. Was this in the cartoon or what?
Yeah, that cartoon's so good. Oh my god.
It really is.
I haven't seen enough of the Justice League cartoon.
Yeah, because that's the one where he finally in the animated series he's on Apokolips and they're doing their sort of final fight from that series, and he ends up just like kicking his ass, and he like lays him down to like the slaves on Apokolips, and he's like, "You're free. I've beaten Darkseid." And they like take Darkseid in and like take care of him.
Yeah.
And Darkseid has this moment where he's like, "Superman, you moron! I am their god.
1-0. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm these people's god. Like, you're never gonna beat me here."
Yeah. Yeah, it's a powerful moment.
And Superman kind of just has to like, I think he like Supergirl's there. He has to like collect Supergirl and just kind of go home. Like, oh.
Yeah.
I love it when Superman kind of gets to like learn a lesson like that.
Sure. Because he probably doesn't, he's the guy that knows everything and is, it's hard to teach him a lesson. but he
Mhm.
also gets really frustrated. Nobody tests Superman's patience and just gets to him the way that Darkseid does. Darkseid can make Superman lose his shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't recommend that Justice League cartoon highly enough.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
I watched it a little bit, but I definitely haven't seen enough. So I can't refer
it
to
gets
like
better
actual
with every
episodes like I can with
rewatching.
Batman.
Yeah,
All right,
you'll love it.
I'm gonna have to dive in.
Yeah,
Johnny, I
If
find
you
that so
want-
surprising that you were of mine and Nate's generation, but you're not so well versed in that show. Like for me, that was like
Yeah, I
a
really
cultural touchstone.
yeah,
I watched it a bit, but just not enough. I think at the time, literally, I don't know. I wasn't really a DC kind of kid, except that Batman was my favorite character, like of all time, and still is literally my favorite fictional character.
sure.
So like that was my only in into DC, and I just didn't bother with anything else really. And it's only
Right.
now as an adult, I'm really starting to care less about Marvel stuff and get more into DC.
Well, here we'll hop around. Nate, how's your Superman drawing coming around?
Pretty good, I think. The pencils were a little looser than I remembered they were yesterday when I did them. So I started the episode off by kind of tightening up some of that stuff, and now I'm getting into sort of these like larger black areas, and I'm realizing maybe I didn't plan as well as I thought I did, but I'm sort of just relying on the fact that I've drawn Superman probably in the thousands of times now to make it work. Yeah, when I was in like preschool, I used to do like a marker drawing of Superman every single day at like the little coloring station.
Hey, you really are a fan.
Crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's coming out pretty good. I've definitely got my work cut out for me in the next part, but yeah, I'm having a ball.
Well, man, it's killer. I love the animated series feel that you have, especially in the face. It's very Superman.
Yeah, that's looking great.
The proportions got a little more like Bruce Timm than I may have drawn him before.
Wow.
Not that I have a problem with that, because I think
that's pretty Bruce Timm.
I think his like whole like the whole DC universe. I'm sad he didn't actually like really jump into comics in like a real way, other than like Mad Love.
Right.
And you know, I mean, there's like the artists that did like the tie-in books, and some of them are excellent.
Yeah.
I have the comics adaptation of Mask of the Phantasm, and it's actually a book that I break out, not all the time, but sometimes.
Rick Burchett or somebody.
Yeah,
there's some great artists on that stuff.
But yeah, I've been watching some of those shows. I've been watching like Justice League and some Superman and Batman here recently. So some of that definitely crept in to this one.
Awesome.
Not that I have a problem with it at all.
Well, it's beautiful, man. I'm absolutely loving it.
Thank you, sir.
It's stellar. But here, we'll move around. Johnny, I'm interested to see about how your parademon fight is going down.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned at the beginning that it was parademons. Maybe because, again, I don't know that much about it. So I just see them as just general goons for Superman.
Totally.
Right at the end there, I just had to I realized I'd gotten to their wings. I realized I had to draw a wing, and I had no reference for how they looked, and pretty much just really quickly Googled some pictures and basically just made it up. So I'm going with kind of a butterfly kind of thing of like one big main wing and then one like smaller wing coming in. But Superman's inked. He's in there. I've not finished his cape yet because I don't know where that's going, but it's going somewhere. And I've done my usual thing that I like to do with Superman and Batman and every superhero, where I like to draw in the seams.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's
like a big thing. I always like to draw in the actual sewing, which sometimes when he's like pretty zoomed out doesn't make much sense, but I just have fun doing that. So I've drawn
That
in the
never occurs to
individual
me,
sewn
and every time I
lines.
see your drawings, I'm like, oh, that's right, seams. I totally forget that every time.
I always just love
Yeah.
putting in seams.
Yeah,
And
you're really good at that.
oh, thanks, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Something I always try and include. And I've also put in trunks with an actual just normal belt, which I like on Superman as
Yeah,
well. I just like him
I
to
like that
wear
for
a belt.
Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like
just
to
a
think
normal
about
fucking
if
belt.
like I like the like if it's like a Kryptonian suit like in the movies, that's cool. But I think about like if Ma Kent really made a suit from like the baby blanket or whatever, it would have
Right.
seams, it would look handmade, and he'd probably just wear actual boots and a belt.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
like that. That's what I usually go for.
I don't know that he would have these like superhero boots. He might just have like work boots.
With laces. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Superman boots.
Oh, I
But
do
that's-
too. I
but
do
that's
too.
just me.
I would
Yeah.
never get rid of them ever. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of like an early version of the suit, kind of like in the New 52 where he just wore like the t-shirt. Something like that where he sort of, and maybe like Max Landis's American Alien, sort of like the first pass at the suit in the last issue of that book, where it's kind of like he wears like a ballistics vest and like normal boots, I think. Maybe not.
Ballistics vest. That's interesting.
Yeah, and he just like spray paints like the Superman shield on it or something. I'd have to revisit that book, but it looks kind of like a handmade suit, and I think that kind of fits with Clark, because you do kind of have to like if in continuity Ma Kent made the suit, you do have to kind of go like, oh wow, she's like a costume designer.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Totally.
If it's too complicated, if it's too alien, it's like where was Ma Kent's input and where did the Kryptonian input end?
Yeah.
That's what I like about Birthright is he has like images of Kryptonians and he tells her, because in that book she makes the suit, but he says like these guys, make it look like these guys. And so it is kind of like a weird, like if your mom tried to make an alien costume is probably what it would end up looking like.
Absolutely. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Well, here, that's definitely something we can get into in the next part with the Kents versus other superhero parents, Aunt May. We'll move around to Todd.
Mine's slow going, but the original face that I drew was like way off, and I knew I was gonna have to rethink it. So that's actually turning out kind of Henry Cavill-ish with lipstick on. So I
like it. I like it though, definitely.
Yeah, I keep drawing it and then actually turning down the opacity and drawing over it. So I think this face is going to go through some different incarnations. But that is Chris Pine's hair. I am looking at a photo of Chris Pine right now, and doing something like his hair. He's even got a little tiny thing. You can't see it now. I also like making his hair blue. I'll darken it up, of course, but Superman always looks good.
It's got to have the blue sheen to it.
Yeah. And but man, this is fun, and I'm excited to put those boots on him because I love boots on a superhero, man. I'm one of those guys that like Batman's got to have pointy Beatles boots practically that go up to his thighs. I mean, that to me is great, and I'd like to think it can work with Superman.
Man,
Christopher Reeve's boots in that movie, he looked really cool.
Oh my god, those boots are so good.
Yeah, they are.
And they just stole them from the comics, and they are so great.
Yeah, it's weird. The little divots in the top that I was like, why is that necessary? But for whatever reason, it is. Like
that's one of my biggest gripes with the New 52 suit is they changed the shape of the top of the boots. I'm like, I wouldn't care about that suit at all. I hate the collar too. But if you got rid of the collar and changed the shape of the boots, great suit. I'd change a lot of the details too.
I think the collar needs to be the way that Christopher Reeves was. That actually, when we were talking about Brandon Routh earlier, that was a big problem I had with his Superman. Is I thought his collar looked really wrong, and
it's not wide enough.
Trying to fix it.
Yeah,
It looked
yeah.
like a preppy collar, and there was, I don't know why that works, but for
And
me,
they
the comic book Christopher Reeve version, but
he's got
it
to
has
have
to be
some
a
like
certain way.
neck skin showing, and they fixed it
Yeah.
when Brandon Routh wore the Kingdom Come suit that they designed for the TV show.
Oh, did
He's
they?
got the wide collar, and he looks
Wow.
amazing.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I'll have to go back and
He
look.
looks great.
I'm
That's a
glad they
great
noticed
suit.
that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. Cool.
Well, definitely in part two, I want to get into a bit of best and worst Superman costume changes. So that's absolutely something I want to touch upon in part two. But I'll move around quickly just to my own piece real quick.
Yeah.
Getting through the
Yeah,
line work.
yours.
The tractor
Those
is a
tire
lot more.
tractors. Yeah, man.
It's turning
Tire
out.
tractors are fucking hard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's looking really good.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys. I'm not 100% in love with it at the moment. Might change when it's done. I've always actually, admittedly, had a hard time drawing Superman. I think I have an issue with my scratchier line quality. It's hard for me to think, or it's hard for me to articulate the softness I'd like to with Superman. So this might end up being my first success with the character, or it might just be another mediocre attempt at drawing him. But either way, I'll be happy with either attempt. I'm pretty proud of how the tractor's turning out so far.
It's interesting that you say that. I feel like whenever I draw Superman, I always clean him up a little bit compared to what I usually do with my art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm finding myself doing that.
And I've tried to do sort of like the messier brushwork that I usually do, and I just never really like it. And I kind of do the same thing with Batman, but Batman takes on interpretation a little bit better than Superman does, probably.
Yeah, I might agree with that statement, Nate, because Superman's look has to be so pure and pristine if you're keeping with like traditional Superman.
Very specific.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you deviate too far from that, when you're attempting to make him classic Superman, it just doesn't feel right. And that's something I definitely come across often with my own work. Is
same thing with Spider-Man's eyes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can push that feel too far, and then it's too far gone. There's a border for sure.
Yeah. It's got to look like classic John Romita, or else it looks like an imposter to me. Anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was pretty much just done talking about it. Yeah, in part two, I'm going to get into more of the line work for the background, the dirt road, the cow here, some silos, possibly a cloud. I'll have to pencil that in. I was debating earlier with the pencils how I would pencil in the cloud to help the legibility of the layout, but I don't think it's needed. I think everything kind of lays out pretty well. You got the tractor, which is wide up top, that leads you down to Superman. His cape leads you to the cows, which leads you back to Superman, and then the line effect of him lifting the tractor up. I think it's going to work graphically well. So I don't know if I'm going to need that cloud in the sky, but we'll see. Maybe I'll add that in later. But yeah, in part two, I'll get into some of the brushwork, hopefully, if I can get through the line work. But anyways, guys, I know that Johnny has an excellent question to lead us off and segue us into part two. If Johnny, you'd like to share that with the class.
Yeah, okay. So I've been thinking lately, basically, as Mike is aware, and you guys are only vaguely aware, I think, I've been just really for fun and my own interest writing like a Justice League treatment. And it's really not, I'm not much of a writer, so it's not really anything to do with story. It's just how I would like handle the characters, I think. And a big aspect of it is to do with like depowering. So I want to know how you guys would feel about my strong belief that I think I would depower Superman and the rest of them, but Superman to the extent that he is as strong as Spider-Man. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that, especially you, well, all of you big Superman fans. And I want to get discussing on that because I have some feelings on it.
Yeah.
Well, with that, everybody, stay tuned for part 2. Thank you guys for tuning into this part 1 of Ink Drink Think, episode 9, the Superman episode. Check out the links in the description below. You can find links to all of our various social media platforms. You can find our various artworks there. We even have an Ink Drink Think Instagram you can check out and follow. So please make sure to follow that for updates and even finalize pieces of our art that we complete during the episodes. And of course, guys, this has been Michael Pickard. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I've been joined by my wonderfully talented co-hosts and friends, Johnny Wise, Nate Wells, and Todd Blackwood. Make sure you guys tune in for part 2 to see how the rest of these pieces go and to finish our Superman conversation.